Hello, Tar Heel Nation. I know it's been way too long, but we are back. This is the UNC Hoops Talk podcast. I'm your host, Dan DeWitt. Uh, it, it's been crazy. It's not planned to take off. It wasn't just because we were losing that there hasn't been a pod. It's just been crazy, and I didn't feel like maybe anybody wanted to listen or hear anything more about the Tar Heels because there's been plenty of people talking about them. It's just nothing's been good. So we do have some positive news here after the last couple of games. I'm not going to go through every game statistically and thoroughly, but we're just going to talk about the Tar Heels a little bit and enjoy the positive vibe here over the last couple of games and realize what we've gone through, but also what we have in the UNC program. And as Roy said, maybe we need to do this every 7-8 years just so we appreciate the good years, but try not to dwell too much on that. We're going to, more just enjoy this and talk and like we try to do here on the podcast, unite Tar Heel Nation. So I'm glad that you're listening, glad that you're watching, however you're taking this in. It's good to be back on the microphone and back on the podcast and talking with you guys. And I hope that you'll communicate with me through Twitter, through Instagram, through YouTube, whatever it may be. But we're here and we're going to enjoy it. So welcome back to the UNC Hoops Talk podcast. Let's see, where do we start? Last time we podcasted, I think Gil did. Well, I know he did the last couple of podcasts. I have not been on the podcast since beginning of December, which is crazy to take that much time off in the middle of the year from being in front of the camera. I still do all of the uploading and stuff when Gil does the podcast, but definitely appreciate Gil for doing that and hope you guys do as well. But yeah, it's been crazy not to be talking to you guys about everything that's been going on. So he podcasted I think it was the day of the Pittsburgh game. So the first Pittsburgh game. So we hadn't played it yet. We had just lost to Georgia Tech. Gil kind of talked us through that, talked us down from the ledge, and then the ledge just got steeper and steeper and steeper. So I hate to relive it, but we are going to kind of go through a little bit. So, he podcasted there, told us, let's take it game by game. Let's get better. Wait till Cole Anthony gets back. But Pittsburgh, we come out. I believe that's the game. And there's been so many now. Maybe I get them confused. But Pittsburgh, I believe we came out. We shot 0 for 15 to start the game. Got way down. It's crazy to think about that game. We actually fought our way back in the second half and ended up only losing by 8, 73-65 to Pittsburgh. Of course, that was at home in Chapel Hill. This was the stretch we were supposed to win. We had Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Clemson to start the ACC in the new year, in the new decade even. I saw too many of those jokes as well. Carolina still hasn't won in the decade. But yeah, we did actually fight back, and we lost by 8 by them at home. And then Clemson, I actually didn't watch. I brought my son to a Vanderbilt game because they're the closest, I would say decent team, but they're not even that decent this year. But we went to a Vanderbilt game the day of Clemson, and I was kind of checking my phone. We were up by 8-10 the whole game. Vanderbilt game, we actually left early because they were getting their butts kicked. And we went out to eat, and we were eating, and there was 2 minutes left. I know you guys know the story, and it's brutal to even replay this in my mind, but 2 minutes left. We're at the restaurant waiting for our food to come, and it's like we're up 10, 2 minutes left. Like, I'm going to enjoy this win. I'm going to watch the rest of this game. And I get it up on my phone, and Clemson hits a three-pointer. We turn it over. They get a steal. They come back, hit a layup. We turn it over again. They get a steal, and they go up. We foul them, and they're going to the free throw line, now only down 5 with like a minute 45. It was like 15 seconds that I actually watched of the game, and I said, that's it. I'm turning it off. Wouldn't watch anymore. Thought, okay, I'm bad luck. The whole superstition thing, I won't watch, and we'll end up winning this game. I mean, there's still only a minute 45 left. We're up by 5 points. Like, we're okay. And obviously you guys know the rest. They came all the way back, sent it into overtime, ended up beating us for the first time ever in Chapel Hill. And brutal. Then, Pittsburgh, I think we start playing a little bit better there. But they are just shooting lights out. They probably from the first game, they just have all that confidence and actually beat us worse the second time, 66-52. But I do feel like we played better in that game. Obviously not well enough. And then Virginia Tech would go there. B-Rob does not play. Again, we lead pretty much the entire way. They come back and goes into overtime, and they end up beating us in overtime. And just it felt like we were finding every way we could to lose the game. And you think, the way B-Rob had been shooting and is shooting now, and just the kind of leadership that he's bringing us after watching, again, these last 4 games. I think it started in Pittsburgh. We kind of found our groove a little bit. And then, just felt for the guys. Like, obviously at first you're like, okay, come on, seriously, North Carolina, like, let's win some of these games. But then you start piling them up, 3, 4, 5 losses in a row, and you just feel bad. And you can see it on Garrison after each of those games. His head is just dropping. And again, the way we lost, the Clemson game, the Virginia Tech game, all those guys playing all those minutes. I know, again, you've probably heard it, but Playtech and Leakey and Garrison, at least, playing 46 or more minutes in that double overtime game. But just kind of running out of gas again without B-Rob in that game. Couldn't make the plays, whether being too tired or just, whatever, not executing. But you just feel for the guys, and it just becomes brutal. But again, I think for sure the Virginia Tech game, again, I think still in the second Pittsburgh game, but you see in the Virginia Tech game, we're kind of figuring it out. We're just close. We just got to get over the hump. And then Miami, I think, is still kind of an outlier. I don't know that we haven't played as well against Miami. We shot the ball much better. I don't have the stats in front of me to know what we shot, but I don't know if we played even as well as we did Virginia Tech, and even most of the Clemson game, some of the Pittsburgh game. But obviously they were missing 2 of their best 3 players. They were beat up, and not that that's an excuse, because obviously we've been beat up the whole season. So, it's not an excuse for them. It's not an excuse of, oh, we're still not any good. We just beat up Miami team, but it does go into that. I mean, we scored 94 points in that game. We beat them by 23, but it was a game we needed. We needed that game a couple weeks earlier just to get the confidence. Whether we beat a beat up team or not, it doesn't really matter. We won, we shot the ball well, and the guys, saw good things happen, and they got confidence from that. And obviously, I think you could tell that last night in the North Carolina State game, where, again, I don't think we ever really they did come back and get the lead, right? A little bit. I'm trying to think of when they had the lead. It went kind of back and forth for the whole, first half. It looks like we were up 39-35 at half. So, 13 lead changes. Their biggest lead was 7 with 18 minutes left in the first half. So, that first half was pretty competitive. And then, I felt like we had control. Again, you were just praying. And, I usually have a group text going, Twitter going, something during the game. But you just didn't want to jinx it. You just felt like, if you talked about, oh, look, we just look different. We look better. We're playing, we're executing, that we were going to hit a streak where we didn't score for 5 minutes. I know it's been a long time ago already, but remember those early games, even some of them that we were winning in the non-conference, we would just have stretches of 8, 9 minutes, at least 5 minutes, where we just didn't score. And the other team would just balloon their lead, or they would come back and make it a game. And so you're just afraid to say anything that, that State's going to come back and just knock some threes in. Even late in the game, we're missing foul shots. They hit a couple of threes when we missed the front end of 1-on-1s, and all of a sudden it's a 4-point game instead of a 10-point game or an 8-point game. Unfortunately for us, they just never did. They shot 20% from 3 and never got going, and that was big for us. But I do think we found a little bit of an identity with this team. What we know we have to do. We have to get it into Garrison Brooks and kind of play through him. He can pass out of that to Armando, kick it back out. Obviously Brandon Robinson is shooting the ball much better. He was over 2 in this game from 3, but obviously, if you watch the game, that his stats in this game were not realistic either, as beat up as he was, and hopefully he's okay going forward. We do have a little bit of a break here since we played on Monday. We go all the way till Saturday when we play Boston College at home. So hopefully we can get a 3-game winning streak going there. But B-Rob just beat up, ribs or whatever it is. Hopefully he figures that out. But obviously before this game, he was shooting the ball really well. I think 29 was it against Miami, I think he had 29. Another game, I know a career high before that in one of the losses. I don't remember if it was Pittsburgh or Virginia. But yeah, he's been shooting well. Obviously, we know the streak Garrison was going on, double doubles. I think he had 6 in a row before the Miami game where, again, we were shooting the ball so well, he didn't need to. He actually had, I think, 12, 13 points, something like that. So points-wise, he was okay, but only about 5 or 6 rebounds. Broke his streak of double doubles, but he gets back on track with that 25 points, 11 rebounds. Again, I think we just figured it out. And maybe it's the guys buying in. I know they've been talking in post game that the guys are buying in, or whatever. But we know that we got to get it into Garrison and play through him, whether it's kicking out for an open shot. Somebody, I know Playtech had a backdoor. Kenny Smith had a nice give and go, getting a layup. Guys cutting off of that and getting layups off that, or if he feeds Armando, the high-low, get into the other big, and we finish off that. Offensive rebounding was big for us last night against State. But again, I think they found a little identity. Now the question is when Cole Anthony comes back, and he says he's close. Last night, a reporter asked him, he said he was about 90%, and he's just kind of waiting to be cleared. I believe he's been back to practice, and Roy likes to have guys, practice a few days before the game. So realistically, he could be back for Boston College. Maybe they feel, hey, we're playing well enough. And obviously, again, this North Carolina team is different than the other with the injuries we've had and the talent, as Roy has already talked about. You can't really say that, we're going to beat this team. But, after Boston College, we have a streak of Florida State, Duke, and then maybe we not a game off, because this team can't take games off. But then Wake Forest before it's Virginia, and then Notre Dame, and then we have Louisville State again. Syracuse is down a little bit, Wake Forest, down, and then we end with Duke. But even more immediate than that, after Boston College is Florida State, Duke. So does he? And it's again another Saturday, Monday turnover. We play Boston College at home on Saturday. Turn around Monday is at Florida State. And then the following Saturday at Duke. So, a couple of big games in there. Do we say, instead of having Cole Anthony play back-to-back games Saturday, Monday, keep him out of this Boston College one then and go after Florida State? And that doesn't guarantee Florida State is a win just because we have Cole Anthony. They're playing some really good basketball, top 5 team right now. Do we just get wins where we can get them and play them in Boston College? And doesn't even mean it's automatic. Like I said, this team has kind of found an identity of going inside to Garrison Brooks and then playing through him. Does Cole Anthony change that when he comes back, because he has the ball in his hands so much? Do we get away from getting inside? Does he feel like he needs to contribute so much that the ball doesn't get moved around? Obviously, I think you say if we can have Cole Anthony, we take him, we play him. But does that change how this team plays? Instead of getting inside so much, and the ball movement has been really good, and not that it can't with Cole Anthony, but he does, keep the ball in his hands a lot, or at least he did. Again, maybe he's, the coaches I'm sure have been talking to him, and not that he wasn't a willing passer, he was passing, but guys weren't making plays. But how does he fit back in? How does he, get himself back in, and how do the guys, welcome that in, and still, not going back to standing around, let Cole do stuff, but, keep moving, keep passing and all that stuff? How does it work? Because chemistry, is a big thing. And I think most years it's on our side, and right now we got it going. How does that affect? And I'm not saying that Cole has or will negatively affect it, but you don't know how that goes. We've seen Kyrie Irving come back for Duke and kind of threw it off. I don't want to say messed up chemistry or the way guys are playing, but it throws it off. Even Sean May, Raymond Felton, their freshman year, when he was out so long, he came back for the ACC tournament, but it just wasn't the same then when he was back, because they weren't used to playing with him. So, it can affect it, even, not saying it's a negative thing or anything like that, but it could affect us in a way like that. And, we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, the talent that Cole has, we want that on this team, and we need a guy like that. But again, Leaky Black is finding his groove as the point guard. Obviously, Cole Anthony would be a better point guard for us. But when guys start to get comfortable, and then you rock the boat a little bit, how does that affect it? So that would be interesting to see. I would love to hear your guys' feedback on that. Again, hopefully we can get a 3-game winning streak here with Boston College, and that game is Saturday, February 1st, 6 p.m. tip. It says here on the ACC network. Again, that's in Chapel Hill, so hopefully the crowd again helps us as well. And then the following Monday, we go to Florida State to Tallahassee. That's a ESPN game at 7 p.m. Eastern tip. So again, those quick turnarounds and doesn't change much from there. We go Saturday, Tuesday, and then another Saturday, Monday, Saturday, Tuesday. So obviously it's nicer, Wednesday's more middle of the week, but then especially with travel and stuff, sometimes you get less practice in there. It's nice to have the longer rest, but again, to play Florida State on a Monday after you've played a Saturday, again, with the injuries we have, not even making an excuse about injuries, but just the minutes guys play. Again, Miami, we were able to rest some guys a little bit because we had the big lead. We didn't play I know Garrison still played 37 minutes against NC State, but we did get some other guys leaky more because of foul trouble and stuff. But I know Kenny Smith, or KJ Smith, I guess. Not Kenny Smith, he's not back, but KJ Smith played 11 minutes to give Leaky a break, but some of it because of foul trouble. Some of those guys have shown, obviously going double overtime against Virginia Tech, playing 47 minutes and then coming back from that Wednesday game to a Saturday and playing so well against Miami. Guys, are okay, but even the guys we have are beat up. Obviously, B-Rob we saw against State, so beat up. Leaky is, been beat up. Even Garrison, it looks like everybody on a team has like their thumbs and hands taped up and, limping from ankles. And I mean, B-Rob is barely walking. Looks like a zombie walking out there. So give the guys credit. A lot of heart, but that's what we need. And this team has to outwork people because they don't have the talent that a normal North Carolina team has. So give the guys credit and let's keep cheering them on. As far as the NCAA tournament goes, I've been on the record, and I'm not going to shy away from this, but saying that we're kind of on the outside of the NCAA tournament looking in. I've got as far as saying we're going to have to win the ACC tournament to get in. Obviously, these last 2 games give me hope. We have big opportunities, but again, just because Cole's coming back or just because we're playing well doesn't mean we're playing up to the level of a Florida State, a Duke, a Louisville. Virginia's been down a little bit, and we got them at home the second time. But there's big games that we win that's going to look good for our resume, but they're not automatic wins just because Cole Anthony's back or just because we're playing well, just because we're shooting the ball well. They're going to come out and try to win those games as well too. So, again, if we could beat Florida State, we beat Duke twice, we beat Louisville. Our chances to get back in are a lot better. And I guess I saw somebody playing this. We are really playing right now to get one bye in the ACC tournament. You changed it now where there's 4 teams that play on Tuesday, and then the tournament really starts on Wednesday. And then if you were in the top 4, you get a double bye. Don't start playing till Thursday. But if we could get to at least a Wednesday, middle of the ACC, and get to the championship game, maybe we don't want to win it. Maybe then we can sneak into the tournament, and again, if we're playing well enough, win a game or 2, get to the Sweet 16, or at least get out of the first round. For this team, I think that would be a pretty successful season, especially the way it's gone up to this point. So. I don't think that's a given, though. I think we're still on the outside looking in for the NCAA tournament. And a lot of things are either going to have to go our way, or, like I said, we're going to have to win that ACC tournament to get in and see what we can do from there. But, obviously a lot of, and that's, we always have a roller coaster season, but usually it's, we're looking like one of the best teams and we lose to somebody we shouldn't, or, we just kind of get a win, but we don't look good. And we're all down on the team. These last 2 games, we're up on the team, but we also have to look at who we've played. And, Miami was beat up. We know that Roy doesn't lose to State in Raleigh, but does that equate to a Florida State win at Florida State, to beating Duke, to beating Louisville? I don't know. Obviously we'll cheer for it, but to guarantee something like that or anything like that is a little far-fetched, I would say. So Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I haven't been too negative. I'm trying to just stay realistic with this team. I've tried to watch again the Clemson game. I think is the only one I've really missed. I'm sticking with this team, and we're going to ride it out with these guys. Like I said, they've showed a lot of heart, but we'll have to see where the season takes us. But yeah, I don't want to ramble on too much and say that the same thing over and over more than I have already. So we just need to kind of move on. Like I said, we got BC coming up. Hopefully we win 3 in a row. And then we'll see, what we can do with at FSU and then Duke coming up. But the next podcast should be after that Florida State game, and it'll be preview to Duke as well coming later in that year or later in that week. Sorry, but yeah, hopefully that's the last time we take a week or a couple weeks off of the podcast this season. And hopefully the Tar Heels don't get us too down as well as going forward. So before we jump off here, I am live on YouTube as well. And James Laughinghouse said, B-Rob said, screw you to the Final Destination crap. If you've seen those movies, kind of, like I said, finding every way to lose a game is how that kind of felt for the Tar Heels. And B-Rob saying that's not going to happen. It does. I think it was Jones Angel on the Inside Carolina or Carolina Insider podcast, kind of said that it looks like he's realizing that, it's his senior year and he's almost done here. His time is running up. He's only got so many chances left, and he's not going to let any injury get in his way of affecting the game in any way he can. But he's definitely got a lot of guts and played through a lot, and give the guy credit. It was big time to see him going through. Looked like he could barely walk, and he was out there making plays. He was actually plus 20 against State. He had the biggest plus minus for us. So even if his stats didn't affect it, his play and leadership definitely did affect and help us that game. So like I said, hopefully going forward, we see a lot of the same. Hopefully I continue to see you guys through Twitter, through Instagram, again, through comments on YouTube, wherever it is. I hope that I hear from you guys and we can keep the chatter going, keep uniting Tar Heel Nation, stick behind this team. I've seen some Fire Roy tweets and stuff, but I don't think it's actually been as much as some years. So I guess that's positive. But yeah, I don't know. We just got another comment here from Grant Bowden. Said, I still get the family around the TV for the games. Gotta love the Heels through thick and thin. And that's the thing. If like it's a season like this that throws you off, then you don't deserve all the good years. Like, we don't realize how lucky we are as Tar Heel fans, and how unoften this happens to us. A lot of fan bases go through this every year. They have stretches where they lose 3, 4, 5 games in a row, every year, every other year. They're waiting for that one good year to come to where they really get excited. And, we are just so lucky, and most of us don't understand it. I know I was in high school with the 8-20 team, and then it took till college to win the championship. So, and I grew up in Minnesota. I didn't grow up in North Carolina with other North Carolina fans. It was, all these other teams of, they're done for, and giving me crap about how bad the Tar Heels are playing. And I hear it here now in Tennessee, like, oh, how the Tar Heels doing. And like I said, this is what, Tennessee fans hope for is, it's what State fans hope for, a season where we're down and they can kind of beat up on us. And it didn't even happen to State. So, again, we have to look at it with a grain of salt and know what we have, appreciate what we have every other year. I mean, you look like what we got coming in next year, and hopefully this same thing shouldn't happen next year. And I mean, give Roy credit for the way he's handling this team. So many players and so many coaches may have given up on this season and just like, oh, we got this Studley, we got 4 McDonald's All-Americans coming in next year. Like, let's start getting ready for that and play guys to get ready for next year. And you can tell Roy, that's not Roy's mentality. He's sticking with this team, and the guys are sticking with it. The players aren't giving up. So we got to stick with them. We got to, stick up for them and ride this ship out, good or bad. And like I said, appreciate everything we have. So Yeah, I think that's all I got. I'll stop rambling now, but it is good to be back. I'm glad that you guys are still here listening and watching, and hope you'll be back next week to tune in either to me or to Gil, talking about a win at BC and an upset win at Florida State over a top 5 team. How awesome would that be? And maybe the return of Cole Anthony, or we don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to stick with them. So that is all I got this week. Like I said, it is great to be back, and I will see you guys next week. Until then, go Heels.